All right, so we added some items here. So where we left off yesterday was at the content type. So let's see what the content types are. The content types basically is a way of grouping side columns together into a reusable group. Now, what does that mean? So let's see that. So yesterday we created one list, right? Which was the sales library, where we have added some columns here. Like for example, we have sales amount, sales state, and department, and so on. Right. So how we have done that? We have gone to library settings, and then we have added the columns there, right? So we have chosen create column, and then we have given the name and then given data type, and that's how we have created those columns. The way this could be done is, so basically what in this approach, what is the disadvantage? The disadvantage is these columns can only be used in this library or list. So these columns cannot be reused in other lists or libraries, because it's created local to this library. So in order to make it reusable, we have to make it as a side column. Now, what are side columns? Side columns are nothing but these are type of columns that we create at the site level. So how do we do that? We go to site settings. We have an option called side columns. Okay, so using this option, we can create those columns, and once the columns are ready, we can add those columns in a site content type. So let's go here. So let's see how we create side column. So in the side column, we have an option called to create. So once you click on create, the same kind of interface comes to you, where you have to give the column name, the type of column, and so on. Okay, so here the one more option comes to associate this column in a group. So whenever we create side column, we have to associate to a group. Basically, it's basically an umbrella of side column groups where this side column belongs to. Okay, so this is how you create side columns. Once you create your side column, then you have to associate those columns in your content types. So how do you do that? You go to this site content types and you create on create. So in this, basically the content type, you have to give your name, what is your description, and you have to select what is your parent content type. Okay, so content type is nothing but what is the type of content that you're creating. In our sales document library, it's a document library, right? So the content type is a document type. So what would be the parent of that document library? Document content types, right? Because it's a document library. And if you click on this parent content type, these are the child, the content type which are there under document content type. So in that, whenever we create a document library, this content type will get automatically associated with that library. Okay. Now this content type has some various columns in that. So if you notice in the sales library, whenever we create a new document library, the title field is common, the name column, right? So that is the name of the document. And other out of the box columns comes such as modified by, create by. That's what we have seen yesterday. And that column content type that you create, it has to be associated to a common group. This. Okay, so this group, you can give the name of the application that you are running, or any other the group name that you want to associate this content type to. So let's go back here. So there are some out of the box content type that SharePoint gives you. For example, if I go to this list, event list, right? So this comes automatically created when we create this kind of a site template. So in this list, if I go to list settings, so you see here, these are the content types basically. So you can associate multiple content types to a list, but when you create an event list, the event content type which get associated with that particular list will get shown here. Okay, now here in this content type, there will be the Microsoft has added some columns by default. So what are those columns? You see this, all these columns belong to that content type. So here you can see the used in column. So this category belongs to the event content type. Description belongs to event content type. End time content type is event. So whatever you see used in, that means those columns are in that content type. Is this clear, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, good. Then, so these are the content types. So what I will do is, so I will create just to demonstrate and make it clear, because these are one of the core concepts that everyone should be clear. What I will do is I will create employee onboarding list. Okay, and what I will be doing is I will be creating a content these many side columns. So you know that we have seen that the content type can have child content types, right? So what I will do is if I have to create a employee onboarding list, so I'll be dividing that list into multiple content types so that it could be reused. So what I will do, these are the metadata that I'll be creating, and I will be associating each column to that particular content type. How will I do that? I will basically, from the list of content types, I will put all the columns which are common to one content type into one content type. So for example, the employee side column will have these many side columns. Okay, so these are the common content types. So for example, employee name, address, start date. Sorry, this is, so yeah, this, for example, this employee content type. So out of these content type, which are the common ones which every employee will have? The employee name, address, and date of joining. Okay, so for now, let's say that I want to differentiate it between two more, further divide into two more. Let's say the employee can be a permanent employee or a contract employee, right? So in order to do that, I would be creating two more content types: permanent employee content type, which will inherit from this employee content type. That means if I create this content type, these column will come automatically in this content type, because this content type inherits from employees. Similarly, I'll create another content type called contract employee content type, and I will include the columns which are relevant to my employee, contract employee. Let's say for the contract employee, there will be a duration for which they will have a contract. So they will have a start date and end date. So this is how basically I would be restructuring my content type to create that employee list. Hope this is clear. So for that, what I have to do, I have to first create these many side columns, right? So for that, I'm not going to create the list first. I'm going to go step by step. So first thing is I'll create the side columns. So for that, what I have to do, I have to go to site settings. It's already open here. Go to site settings, and I'll go to side columns. So I'll create my side column. So first one is employee name. Employee name could be a single line of text because there will be not that much of content. Now in the group, I want to create a new group. I'll name it as employee onboarding. So this is the name of the group I want this side column to come into. And I'll have to make it as required, and then I'll go and create. Okay. So when I create that particular column, you can see my employee onboarding group is shown in the shown group. So currently I have only one column. Similarly, I have to create another column, which is address. Now employee address will have much more data than it can fit in one single line of text. So I can choose multiple line of text. So when I select multiple line of text, and I have to then associate that in my employee onboarding group, make it required. So when I choose multiple line of text, it shows me whether you want a plain text or enriched text. So plain text will only allow characters, and enriched text will allow me to insert any rich text, like make a particular line bold or italic, or insert picture tables, etc. But here in this case, I just don't have any such thing, so I'll just make it as a plain text. Okay. Similarly, I'll create contract start date, which will be of type date and time. Put that in my group that I have created. Now, do I have to make it required or no? Because here the employee types are permanent and this thing, right? So in permanent, we don't need this column. So for now, here we will make it as non-required. Now this contracts usually comes in a time duration like 2 months, 3 months, 7 months. So I don't think we need to include time here. So date itself should be fine. So I'm just leaving date only here. Similarly, and date will be date time. Put it in the same group. Make it as not required, date only, and then employee date of joining would be of type date time. All right, I'll create another column. Now the name of the column is supervisor. Now the supervisor is basically it's a person, right? So there we have a column here called person or group. So for the supervisor, I'll select person or group. Now when I choose that, I'll make it a required column. It gives me two options, whether you want to allow multiple selection. Now supervisor can only be one, so I'm just saying no here, and allow selection of whether it's a people or a group. Now I can select one person as a people, or I can select a group, but supervisor is normally one person, so I'll select people only. But the group here represents your SharePoint groups, which we will see when we see the permission section. All right, so now my site columns are ready. Now what I'll do is I'll go ahead and go to the next step, which I'll be creating site content types. I'll go to site content types. Go ahead and create it. The first column, the site content type is employee content type. So CT, I'm suffixing it just to denote whether that it's a content type. Now I'll be creating a list. Okay, so the content type I'll be going to select for this is the list content type. And if you select the list content type, so these many child content types are available for me to select, which will have a predefined site columns pre-created by SharePoint. But I want an item, so item will just have title, because I want to include my site columns, not the pre-selected by SharePoint. and then I'll for the site content type, I'll be creating my own group, which will be my employee content type. Okay, so this is my overall this thing a group. So an employee onboarding. So all the three content type I'll be including in this particular group. So when I create a content type, you see only one title column has been given to me. So what I will do is I need to create my three columns here, right? So for the employee content type, which is a common content type, which will be the basically a parent content type for pair permanent and contract employee type. So I'll have to include these columns. So how I'm going to do that? I am going to add from existing side columns. And I can select the group, which is employee onboarding. So this is the group which we have selected or created when we created the side columns, right? So select this. So it will show me all the side columns which are there. So I have to select employee name, address, and date of joining. So I'll be saying okay. So what it did, it created a employee content type, and what is the group name? This one. So, and what is the parent content type? It is an item content type, and it will have it is listing down all the columns that I have. So the next one is I have to create two more content types now. So one will be your permanent employee. Now here, when we say that parent content permanent employee type inherits from employee, so employee content type should be my parent, right? So here the employee content onboarding content type is present here. So I can select that, and employee currently it has only one content type, so I have to select that. And it should be grouped under employee onboarding content type. Now when I create that, so if you can see that parent, what is the parent content type? The employee content type. And what is the group currently? Employee onboarding content type. So if you see here, the column that I've added in my content type has come pre-filled here, right? So basically this is what we are doing. We are reusing the side columns and then bringing it into different umbrella of content types. Now this permanent content type has one extra column, which is employee date of joining. So I have to add that here. Okay, I think shouldn't have come here. Okay. So what I'll do, I'll just go to that employee content type and I'll remove this column because this should have been there in the permanent employee content type. So I'll go to this site content type and this one I'll say and go ahead and remove it. So when I remove or add column to a content type which is parent, it will automatically update its child content types, right? So check on that. Okay, this is removed from here, and if I go back to my permanent employee type, see that column is automatically removed from my parent for my child content type also. What I'll do, I'll add from my existing side column. Now that side column should be available for me to add because it has been removed. Joining. So my permanent employee content type is done. I'll have next we will move to the contract employee content type. Parent content type is onboarding. So I'll have to add my contract start date and end date. So add from existing side column. So I think another thing is supervisor should be in employee content type, right? Because every employee, whether it's a contract or permanent, will have a supervisor. It's one more mistake we have to correct. So now just to show you that it updates all the child content type, you see here contract employee content type do not have a supervisor, right? So if I go to employee content type and add it, it will be automatically added to all the child content type which inherits from this content type. So here, if you see here the settings, update all content type inheriting from this page. So if you say yes, it will update its child. If you say no, it will not update. So it's always better to say yes. But there will be some scenarios where you would have added the data and it would have, if it is removing the side column, it's always better to say no, correct it, and then do that. Okay, so it has added supervisor here. So let's go and check my content types whether they should have a supervisor. Contract has it. So you can see the source here. The source basically this is all these columns coming from the parent content type. So this is how you can easily correlate where these columns are coming from. And my permanent content type also have this thing. Any questions so far? So our content types are ready. Did you guys understood this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All right, cool. All right, the next step is basically to create the list. So let's go and then create a list. So how do I do that? I'll create new and I'll say list. I'll create from blank and employees. So since it is a list, it will have a default list content type. So if you see list settings, so by default it has a title, and then so you don't see a section here which says content type. So any idea how to enable that? Anybody? You don't see a content type section here which says an item content type. So what settings I have to do to enable that? Anybody knows? Guys, yes, no, I can explain if you say no. Don't know, it's fine.
Don't know, sir.
Don't know.
Okay, fine. Then what you say, you go to advanced settings, and then here you have an option called allow management of content type. Say yes, right? So if you say yes and then say okay, so it will display you all the content types.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is the content type. So in this list, I have to add my content types. So there are 3 content types, right? So what content types I can add here as per you? So I have 3 content types. So which content type this list should be having? Should it have all the content types, or it should only have parent and permanent and contract employee?
Only permanent and contract.
Sorry, I didn't get it clearly.
Only permanent and contract employees.
Yeah, that is correct, because here the employee content type is common. So anyway, the columns are there and there is no use of employee content type, just a parent, right? Okay, that's good. So how do I do that? I can say add from existing site content types. And then I can select this. So I can select whichever I want and then say okay. Right. So if you see here, so all these content types are visible on new button. So when I say new item, it should show me these these many items, right? And what is the default content type? It's an item. So if you want, if you need to change the order, you can click on this new button order and then do that setting. So for example, for the first thing, if you don't want any new items, so let me just show you first how the list will look like now. If I go to employees and if I click on new, so 3 items it is showing me, right? So there is no use of item, so I need to remove this item from this new button. So how do I do that? I can go to that content type settings. So I can just deselect it. So this item will not come in the new drop down. Only these 2 items will come. And I mean, we couldn't have we should have I mean, we could have removed the CT, because when in case of end users, the CT will not make sense to them, right? So they'll say, what is that CT? So while giving the content type, we could have only given contract employees, so it would have make sense, right? Anyway, just two things to remember. Then if I go to new, so only these 2 columns will be visible. Okay, so now if I have to create a permanent employee, I can just select that, and the columns that will be presented to me will be those columns which I have added in permanent employee content type, right? So what is not coming here? The contract start date, end date is not coming because it belongs to a contract content type. So I can always come and make modification here. So if you see here, start date, end date are coming for employee content type, contract employee type. So let's add some items here. So here if you see, the title field is there and employee name. So I don't want title field to come here. So what I can do, I can go there, go to list settings. So in my contract employee content type, I can make this field as hidden. So it will not come in the form. Same thing I can do for my permanent employee. Okay, just to know that I mean, you know that only title is coming and the other columns are not coming. So what do? We have to edit the current view and make those columns visible which we want, right? So we don't want title because title anyway is hidden. So what are things that we added? Contract and date, this thing, and employee address, date of joining, employee name. Supervisor. Okay, then I can say okay. Then again I can reorder that, right? So if I want column name and the first, so I can modify the view. And make it come on the top. So I can give this as 1. Employee name. Then I want who is the supervisor. and then employee address as 3, and date of joining as 4, and start date should be 5, and end date will become 6. I think that's just good. Okay, let's go ahead and create a permanent employee. Let's give this name any name, random name, and then some address, date of joining, let's say 3rd. Who's the supervisor? I'll give my name. And then I can go ahead and save this. So you see here, it's because it is a permanent employee, start date, end date is blank here. So what I will do now, I'll just include the content type as well, so that it will be easier for me, for us to just know whether what type of item it is. Okay, you see here it's a permanent employment. So let's add for a contract one. Gosh. Then what is the start date? So let's say that he's starting from 30th, and then the end date is somewhere 30th September. Who is the supervisor? Let's say this. You see the difference here? We'll add one more contract employee, or permanent. Let's add permanent. Date of joining, 2nd. Lisa is the supervisor. Let's say yeah. Okay, so this is my list. Any questions? Is it clear, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's try to change the contract end date, and so basically what I want is I don't want contract end date to be entered by the user. So this end date should come from should be a calculated one. So let's say there is a company policy saying that whenever the person join the contract start, it should be valid for 6 months only. So there should be a calculation that happens here. Okay, so whenever we give the start date, the end date should always be the date. It should always pre-populate from this 6 months, right? After 6 months. So let's see if we can still go ahead and change this particular side column. So I can go to side columns. Contract end date. Okay, so for that I have to create this as a calculated column, right? So now if you see here, there is no option. So when I create a any column, I can only change it to the some options which I am allowed to change it to. So I can always this end date, date time, I can only change it to a single line, multiple line choice, or date time. Okay, so I can't do that. So what I will do, I can I delete this column? So when I delete from side column, what does it say? Side column which are included in content type cannot be deleted. Remove all references side column prior to delete. Do you understand this message?
Yes, sir.
The
We have
message
to
says that
delete the details of the employee which you have entered in the list.
correct. So this has been referred and the data is associated already to that side column in some list. So currently here we are making one list, but there could be 25, 30 lists which is using this column, right? Which is being
Yes.
referenced.
Yes.
So for that, we have to empty all the items and then, I can delete and change and add again. So let's try that. Let's go and delete. So I can select multiple and delete. Can I be able to still now delete? So it is still having some reference. So if you delete any item, it goes to recycle bin, right? Any item you delete goes to recycle bin. So how can I go ahead and I can go to site, sorry, that one. You can go to site information, view all site settings, recycle bin. So these three items we deleted and it has come here. So if I have to restore it, I can select all and say restore, or I can delete. So if I say restore, what does it do? It will go back in that list. Right? If I delete, it goes to recycle. So any items which are there in recycle bin, it stays there for 30 days. So you can restore whatever if anything has been deleted accidentally. Otherwise, there's no way of recovering it after 30 days. So I can delete. So there are two stages of recycle bin. So if I delete from site recycle bin, it goes to second stage recycle bin. So there is another protection here. So after 30 days it goes here, you can again restore it. But after this, again 30 days, you cannot restore. Okay. So now the items have now been permanently deleted. So now if I go and try to delete this, see. So I mean it will take time and then you can delete it because it's on cloud. So in cloud everything happens after 15-20 minutes because there will be some batches running, and it's very hard to delete any site column once it has a data associated. So so sometimes it's a mystery how you can do. I mean how it is done. So but anyway, so what I'll do, I'll just create another column, contract and date. I'll make it a calculated column. Okay, and then I can associate this one in my employee onboarding. So what is the formula? The contract start date so whatever is my contract start date, I can say plus 180. Okay, so what does it do? So whenever the item get created, whatever the value here, it will add 180 days and it will repopulate the value. Is it clear, anyone? This is how you create a calculated column. And then what should it return? It should return a date time and date only. That's what we want this output of the column. So now the error is the column name you entered is already in use. That means you cannot give same name for new column. So I'll just say new here. So now what I have to do, I can associate that in my content type. Which content type it will be? Contract employee. Alright, so has that been added in my list? If I go to list settings, this one is already added because this content type I was having. Now what I can do, the contract employee type. Now the two dates will come, right? One is my start date and date. And date I don't want. So what I can do, I can make it as hidden. In the form it will not be shown. Okay, and then the content end date, what it is, I can edit the current view, and I can add my contract end date new 7. Okay, now if I create a new contract employee, you notice here my calculated column do not come in the form because it's a calculated column, right? And it depends upon this column for the calculation, so you just need the value here. See here, got pre-populated, so it has added 6 months here. Okay, and then if I go to if I create a permanent employee, so that remains same. Any change? Electronic. Now you see something here, something's happening here. So the start date is empty, so it is giving me a scrap value, right? Because this is a permanent employee, so we are not given any value in the contract start date. Okay, so the calculation I have to modify something. So we should always do calculation when there is a value in the contract start date, right? So what I can do, I can go to my site column. Now first I have to check whether there should be a value. So how you can do that? You can do some formula. Say we can use an if condition. If is blank, then return empty string, otherwise do the calculation. So calculation is something here. Is this right? Is it understood what we're trying to do here? We're trying to validate whether if it is blank, then display null, I mean empty string, otherwise do the calculation and show me the calculated value.
Yes, sir.
So what it is saying, you are about to update all the lists using side column. So what does it do? It will be, since we are modifying the side column, it will go and update all the lists wherever this side column is there. So this happens automatically. So that is the main benefit of using side column content types. So hopefully it should go away. Let's see, refresh. Yes, it's gone. So this thing is working. So let's try to see, add another one more contract employee, see if it is still working. So just give test user something. Start date is supervisor. Okay, so this is working, so everything is working, right? So this is the main benefit of content type. So hope you guys understood why we should always create columns through side column and content types. This is the main benefit of it. It's reusable. Okay. Now what I want to know here is I want a column which will say whether it's an employee, is a contract employee or a permanent employee. So what I can do, I can create a calculate column. So here the date, I can take a date of joining, right? So if the date of joining is there, that means I can say that as a permanent employee. If it is not there, then I can say it's a contract employee, right? So what I can do here, I can go to list setting. And here I can create a column like this. I can say employee type. And I can do a calculated column. Now the formula is the date of joining. So here also I can say if is blank and display. If it is blank, then what type of employee it is? Who can tell me?
Contract types.
Contract type. Otherwise, permanent. So the output can be a single line of text. So if I say added to content type default view, it will automatically add that column in the view. Yeah, it's coming there. These are the contract type, permanent and contract type. Now I can do some formatting here in the view. So I can format some view. So the first one is the alternate view. So if I select this, you see this alternate style is happening. You can edit the row style and then you can add your own colors. And then you can add conditional formatting. So based on a rule. Okay, so what rule basically you can add a rule. So what I want is basically all the permanent employees should have a some color and permanent contract employee should show some color. So what I can do, I can add a rule. In the rule, I can say I can use my calculated column. I can say employee type is equal to permanent type. So I want blue color. Okay, and or otherwise add a condition. Sorry, you can save it. So you can see this is my permanent type. It is coming in blue, right? And the default view show all value. I can choose a different color from here. Same one. Okay, yeah, so this is it. I hope you guys understood this. This is how you can format the view.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is basically we have accessed the list coming from site content and going to the list, but you can place the list directly on your homepage. So you can go to or wherever you want to put that. So what you can do is you can add it to the homepage. So you have to edit the page, and I can add that. So here basically I can edit the section and add that. So this is the web part edit. Okay, we go down. So here I can add that list. So what I could do, I can type list here, and then what list you want. So I can select my employee list. So it will place the my application on my homepage. Now there are some settings which I can do. I can edit it and then give some options here. So let's say what view I want to filter. So currently there is only one view, so you can use that view here, and then show command bar, hide command bar. So basically you see the command bar, you are able to see and add new options here, right? So if you don't want that, you can select this. Otherwise, if you want it, then you can select that. You see all these things are coming. So once we do that, we have to republish. Yeah. So this is was about our site column content type. So any questions on this? Hope you're clear, because the next assignment you'll be creating will have all these things.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay. So we'll go to the next one. So in the view, we have some special filters. Let's say that, for example, me and today. So what is the significance? Let's see. So we are there in my list, right? So with employee. Now remember we added a column called supervisor, right? Now the supervisor is of type people picker, right? So so I want to view basically where I want to see all the people who are reporting under me with the name Rahul, right? So what I can do, I can create a new view, create new view, my reportees. Okay, I want to list, and this is public view, so I can create. So now if you see, my reportees are there. Now in these reportees, I don't want some columns. So let's say that I can edit this current view. So I don't want supervisor because I know I'm the supervisor. Employee address, I don't have anything. Date of joining, I don't want this one. So let me say, if I want to see the employee type, then I can do. And then sorting, I want to sort based on the employee name, and I want to see descending. And in the filter, I currently it is set show all items, but I want only reportee. So I can say filter these items where the reportee column, sorry, supervisor column is equal to me. So what this me is basically the logged in user basically. So what it will match, whether logged in person name is equal to supervisor field. So in that list, my name was there only for one person, so it is showing me only one item. If I go to all items, you can see that Rahul belongs to only one person. Filter by Rahul. So this is another way in the view you can filter, right? Or don't want to filter by this, clear all, apply. Can also group by supervisor. So this is how it will be supervised, it will be grouped. So this group by option we have also seen in the view, right? So similar thing it will bring you. It will show you the similar interface. Another thing is we have today this basically it shows that it will give you the current date, today's date. Okay, so for that is there anything on the past? So let's give an example where I want to show a contract start date is less than today. Okay, so let's modify this item. Let's say edit current view. Filter where contract start date is less than today. I think there is no item here which is less. So, but basically this is the way how you can do the filtering using today. So let's try it. Let's contract. Give it list date. Okay. So now you see I've given a list date and today, so it is coming here in the all items. So for now, let me show all items. Let's reset this. Okay. Work. Hope this is clear. And then filtering and sorting on the view we have seen. Index columns. So there is an option of index columns. So what does index column does is, so let's say that you have currently only 4 items, but there the list goes on and you have 5,000, 10,000 lakhs of items, right? And then you are making a query. Let's say that you are making a REST query on this list, and the performance is degraded, so that the query is taking a lot of time for you to return the results. So the clients are complaining. So what happens? So what you do is whatever the columns that you are making a query on, okay, so or whatever you are trying to update, so those columns you have to add that as an index columns. So how do you do that? You can go there. Your query is you are writing a query which will return you all the permanent employees. So you're checking this employee date of joining shouldn't be empty. So but because of lot many line items, your query is failing. So in order to do that, you can add this column as index columns. So you can do that. You can go to list settings. There's an option called index columns. So you can create a new index and add that column as index. Okay, so this will increase your performance of your query. So it will take some time when you add that. So when you're creating a list, you should always decide which is the column that which is going to be heavily used in your in your programming. So you should go ahead and add those columns as an index. So there's a maximum limit of 20 indexes. Is it clear? It's very important that you understand this concept. It's similar to what you add a context index in your SQL databases, right? Just to increase the performance of your query. It's very similar to that. Okay. And coming to the content approval. So let's say that I want some approval on this list. So no, I mean the employee should be reviewed before they are approved in the system. Okay, so nobody can just add that I want somebody to approve this an employee. Then only it should become a valid employee. So what we can do, we can enable content approval here. So how we do that? You can go to list settings. And go to advanced settings, sorry, no, not this one. Go to version settings, and then you enable this require content approval. Select that as yes. So what happened? You see there are some columns which got added, right? The approval status. Because these items were already added, so it is auto approved. But if I try to add any new employee now, so let's say common employee. You see the status here, pending approval status. So how it can be approved? You have to select this one, and then there'll be an option here which will say approve or reject. So I can reject this or approve this. So that's why if I approve, it will be approved. If I reject, it will have a status called reject. Now who can approve this? The site collection administrator can approve, or there is a group permission level which has an approve name. So only those people can approve this particular kind of request. Is this understood?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then let's go to there's another type called manage metadata. So what it is? So let's try to understand this. So manage metadata basically. So there is a if you want something which should be in hierarchical format, right? So for that we use manage metadata. So if you take the example of this employee, uh, you want to add skills that each employee have, right? So technical skills. So this could be a hierarchical. So for example, a .NET can be one parent, and then .NET can have multiple, like for example C# or ASP.NET or VB.NET, for instance, right? So there's a hierarchy that is there. For example, .NET and then these three child items, and there could be a uh, non-hierarchical data also. So if you have similar kind of requests, we usually use manage metadata, right? So how do you create any manage metadata? So you can go to there are two ways you can create. You can create at the site level, or you can create it at the global level, which is at what do you call, at the tenant level. So let's see how you can do it at tenant level. So if you go to admin, so we have to go to SharePoint admin. Go to more features and then term store. So this is where we can create that hierarchy. So this is a term store. So what you do is taxonomy store. So first what we have to create is we have to create a new group. So let's say that employee skills. Okay, and in this, if you have to create a child item, so this is a group basically. So we are trying to list down the skills of an employee. So for that, we have to create a new term set. So the term set will be skills. And in this, we can create a term. So for example, you guys said, right, you have learned Python, and then what is that? Click view, right? That's correct.
Yes, sir. Click view and click sense.
Click view and
Click sense, sir. Click sense.
click sense. Let's not worry about the spellings. So as I said, I can create hierarchy. So I can create .NET. And then in that .NET, I can create another term. Okay, so let's say C#. Then VB, for example. So these are my skills. Okay, I have created all my skills. It's very easy to create, and then we can actually import it from a file also, comma separated file. So anyway, so I have created the skills. So what I can do now is I can create. Now the skill is where we should add it in the content type, whether we should add it at employee side or a permanent employee or contract employee.
Permanent employees.
Sorry, permanent employee. Okay. Like contract employee don't have skills.
Yes, sir. Both we can apply.
Okay, so I can add it in my employee content type, right? So that it will come in on both the content type automatically. Okay, so employee skills, and then so there's another type called manage metadata. So this is what we have to select in case of taxonomy fields. So we select this, and I have to put it in my employee onboarding, and this should be required because every employee should have a skill. And I can allow multiple values, right? So I can be proficient in .NET. I can also know Python. So you should allow me to enter multiple items. And here it will allow me to select the taxonomy. So which I can select. So I can select the skills, right? Because the skills only has all the items. So if I click on skills, any default value I can add here. Otherwise, I'll just put it black. So side column is created. I can add it in my content type. Side content type. So if I add it in my employees, then it will come in both the content type, right? So that will be a better approach. Employee content type. Add from existing side column. So what did it say? Update all content types. So this will update my permanent content type also and my contract employee content type also. Okay. Now, if I refresh my list, it's not added, but it will be there in my list settings as my column. Right here it is. So I can add that column in my view. So I can edit this view. Employee skills should come before employee type, so it should be 8. So if I make it 8, it will be auto incremented to 9. Okay. Yeah, so there is an error here because it is supposed we added that as a required column, but and nobody has the values. So let me go ahead and edit this. So the skills. So Rahul, I know Python skills. I know .NET. So guys, if you see, no, .NET is a parent taxonomy and it has a child items. But if I say .NET, all my child also will come. Okay, so that's one advantage. And if I can write or I can choose from here. So I know this one also and I supply. Save. Now what happens is this particular item I have edited, right? So it will go for an approval. So the approval status will be pending. Subhash, let's edit that. It's the skills, or let's say C#. Okay, let's assume that the rest of the employee just know what Subhash knows, so I can quickly edit this. Edit in grid view, just to save time. Let's see if I can drag and drop. Okay, it got added, and then if I exit, everything should be in pending. This is auto updated, and then I can select all, and should be able to approve everyone. Okay. Okay, so everything got approved. Any questions here, guys? So is it clear or is it all confusion? Not hearing anything.
No, sir, it's clear.
It's clear, sir.
Okay. All right, how about everyone else? Because I usually hear these two familiar sounds every time. Is everyone there or?
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, so we'll break it, we'll keep it today till here. So one assignment that I would want to give is basically, first thing is you have to replicate this in your tenant. Okay, and then this is the assignment. You have to create a leave application using site column content type. So this is the metadata. The employee name, basically it should be the mandatory and should be a lookup from this list that you're going to create. Okay. Should be a lookup column, and the leave type is mandatory, and these are the options. It should be a lookup. So basically you should create a separate list called leave type and add that as a lookup column in this list, leave application. Start date, end date is when you want start and end of leave. Effective leave is the calculated column, which will calculate based on this differences of these two dates, end date minus start date. So it will tell me whether if you are taking 2 days leave, 1 day leave, or 10 days leave, etc. Reason is a choice column. It will have these options, and description should be a multi-line plain text. Any questions here or any